Hi guys, regulations exist to protect society and business from unbridled capitalism. Now, I've mentioned before how Brexit was about watering down protections for workers, the environment and consumers. Now, Richard Murphy, an economist, is extremely angry with Rachel Reeves here, and I'm going to show you this clip. What she's doing is she's using fiery rhetoric in order to convince people that it's a good idea to remove certain regulations or guardrails in order to grow the economy. Have a listen to this.
Rachel Reeves said in her Mansion House speech this week that rules and red tape are a boot on the neck of business. Think about that claim for a moment. Think about the violence of the symbolism that she chose to use. And then think about how utterly inappropriate it was. What she's claiming is that those poor people in very big business are being so threatened by the state that she has to come in on her white charger and protect them from the abuse of civil servants. How could she abuse the structure that she actually works for, the government, so badly? And how could she have got this so wrong? Because after all, the regulation that has been created to control big business, and which doesn't always do so, is there for a good reason. It's there to protect you and me from the abuse that we know big business can deliver. When did it last deliver it? Well, most obviously in 2008, of course, when most of the banks in the City of London tried very hard to fail. Now, Rachel Reeves is giving up on the regulation that was introduced then so that they can take the sorts of risk that they did from 2005 onwards, and the outcome is inevitable. But she claims that this is necessary to take the boot off their neck. Who is she putting the boot into by doing this? She's putting it into us. What she's doing is threatening us, because we will be the people who bail out those banks who will now be reckless as a consequence of her actions. This was one of the most inappropriate political metaphors that I've heard in decades. Rachel Reeves needs to hang her head in shame at making this suggestion. There is no such thing as the government putting its boot on the neck of business when it does what it is required to do, and that is to regulate capitalism so that the rest of us are protected from its failings.
Exactly. And we saw that back in 2008. What happened? The financial crisis, because the regulations were not strong enough. And businesses like the financial services sector were taking massive risks. They were claiming to self-regulate, but self-regulation doesn't work. You need someone outside, you need the government, you need a proper regulator to come in and say, you're not allowed to do this. Now, the European Union, following the crisis, increased the regulations, increased those safeguards. And what Rachel Reeves and the Brexiteers before her were trying to do was remove those protections. I've mentioned this before on the channel. When it came to insurance, there was an attempt to remove, I don't know how far ahead that has gone, but there was an attempt to remove certain protections there, which would result in not businesses struggling or suffering, but ordinary people. And the same would happen again. If the financial services sector is allowed to run rampant without any sort of proper protections, then what are they going to do? They're going to take massive risks. Because think about it, massive risk results in massive gain. And their focus is on, of course, maximizing profit, maximizing their bonuses if they're working in the City of London. If they're regulated, they're less likely to be able to take those massive risks. Now, as we saw in 2008, when they failed, the government stepped in and picked up the tab. With the government, not really the government, the taxpayer. People lost their homes, but banks were propped up. The banks were the ones who made the mistake, not ordinary citizens, but ordinary citizens went to the wall. They lost their homes, they lost their businesses, they lost their livelihoods, they lost their pensions in some cases. But the ones who made the mistake were supported. I remember back in Ireland when one of the banks collapsed, the president or the CEO, I don't remember which, of that bank received €3 million to leave. He failed, in his job, and he was given a handshake of 3 million euros, about 4 million pounds, I believe, or 2 million pounds. Anyway, a lot of money, even though he failed, when people lost their homes. So it's insane to think, okay, what we need to do going forward is remove protections. And who's pushing for this? The City of London, the financial service sector. They want these protections removed because they want to maximize profit. And they will sell this idea to the Chancellor or to the government. If you remove these guardrails, we will be able to grow the economy. And you may see a bit of growth for a short period of time. But once again, if these guardrails are removed, the whole thing will come crashing down because people will take more and more risks, bigger risks, and this will end in failure. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.